exposing the stark reality of nuclear war and its catastrophic consequences. In the event of a nuclear war, the immediate devastation would be unimaginable. The sheer force of the explosions would obliterate entire cities in an instant, leaving nothing but smoldering ruins and ash in their wake. The iconic mushroom cloud, a harbinger of doom, would rise ominously over the landscape, a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for self-destruction. Cities obliterated, infrastructure decimated, and millions of lives lost. The once bustling urban centers would be reduced to ghost towns, with skeletal remains of buildings standing as silent witnesses to the carnage. Roads, bridges, and essential services would be destroyed, making rescue and relief efforts nearly impossible. Estimates suggest that initial casualties could range in the tens of millions, with radiation exposure leading to further deaths over time. The survivors would face a grim reality, as radiation sickness would claim countless more lives in the days, weeks, and months following the blasts. Hospitals and emergency services, overwhelmed and under-resourced, would struggle to cope with the influx of injured and dying. But the horror doesn't end there. The psychological trauma inflicted on the survivors would be profound and long-lasting. The sheer scale of the destruction and loss would leave deep emotional scars, with many struggling to find meaning and hope in a world turned upside down. Survivors would face a harsh new world. With homes destroyed and communities shattered, they would be forced to scavenge for food, water, and shelter. Makeshift camps and shelters would spring up, but these would be woefully inadequate to meet the needs of the displaced population. As many as 1 billion people could become refugees, struggling to find safe zones. The mass migration of people would put immense pressure on neighboring regions and countries, leading to further conflict and instability. Refugee camps would be overcrowded and under-resourced, breeding grounds for disease and suffering. Food and water supplies would be contaminated, leading to widespread famine and disease. The fallout from the nuclear explosions would poison water sources and soil, making agriculture nearly impossible. Grocery shelves would be empty, and the spectre of starvation would loom large over the survivors. Economically, the world would be shattered. The global economy, already fragile, would collapse under the weight of the destruction. Stock markets would crash, factories would be abandoned, and millions would be left without jobs or means of support. The global economy would collapse, causing decades of hardship. Unemployment would skyrocket, and long lines at aid distribution centers would become a common sight. The economic recovery, if it ever came, would be slow and painful, with many nations struggling to rebuild their shattered economies. Nations wouldn't be able to function normally, and the delicate fabric of international relations would be torn apart. The United Nations and other international bodies would be paralyzed, unable to coordinate a global response to the crisis. Diplomatic efforts would be hampered by the sheer scale of the disaster, and the world would be plunged into a new era of uncertainty and mistrust. Who would be the winners in such a scenario? Military leaders, once confident in their strategies and arsenals, would find themselves grappling with the futility of their actions. War rooms would be empty, and the remnants of military equipment would lie in ruins, a testament to the ultimate failure of war as a means of resolving conflicts. In reality, there are no winners. The human cost would be incalculable, with grieving families and devastated communities bearing the brunt of the suffering. The global despair would be palpable, as people everywhere grappled with the enormity of the tragedy. Every nation, regardless of their military power or preparedness, would suffer devastating consequences. The interconnected nature of our world means that no country would be spared the fallout, both literal and figurative, of a nuclear war. The suffering would be universal, transcending borders and ideologies. The environment would take centuries to recover, if at all. The radioactive fallout would poison the land, water, and air, leading to long-term ecological damage. Forests would wither, rivers would run dry, and entire ecosystems would collapse, leaving a barren and desolate world in their wake. Nuclear winter could lead to severe climate changes, affecting agriculture and ecosystems worldwide. The soot and ash from the explosions would block out the sun, leading to a dramatic drop in temperatures. Crops would fail, and extreme weather events would become more frequent, further exacerbating the suffering of the survivors. In summary, the aftermath of nuclear war is a grim reminder of the importance of diplomacy and peace. The catastrophic consequences of such a conflict underscore the need for nations to work together to prevent it. Diplomatic efforts, peace talks, and anti-nuclear movements are more crucial than ever in ensuring a safer future for all. It's crucial that we work together to prevent such a catastrophe for the sake of our planet and future generations. By fostering global cooperation and understanding, we can build a world where the horrors of nuclear war remain a distant memory, and the hope for a brighter future becomes a reality.